Hey everyone, this is Mike, and today Seth's Special Agent got released. So Seth got released 2 weeks ago. I decided to not make a video on her just yet, just because I was waiting for her Special Agent to release, and then also for me to get all of her awakenings, in order for me to have a good formed opinion on the character. Now, as a character, I think Seth is pretty fucking amazing. She's incredibly strong, she's pretty fun to play as well. But there is one big drawback to me personally, which is completely subjective, and it is the fact that some of her skills look a bit horrible. They're not necessarily too bad looking, because some of her skills look pretty cool, but more specifically the Thorn's Binding debuff that she applies looks atrocious. It just doesn't look good, it's not appealing to the eye at all. Her FM3 and FM4 also clutter the screen like crazy. So I can see a lot of people, and this is also my first impression of her when I first saw her release in Korea. I thought I was not gonna enjoy this character because some of her skills just look like shit. Now, after having played her for the last 2 weeks, playing through the story and all of that shit, I actually came to enjoy her quite a bit. Now, of course, with Special Agent, some of her skills got changed. I have to say, 3 of the skills that actually changed for the better. Her second skill feels kind of weird now that it's changed, but it's still pretty fun, and it's actually a lot better than it used to be. So, she already had a pretty strong kit. Special Agent made it even stronger. Her awakenings didn't change too much, it just gave her a little bit more of iframes, which she needed. But other than that, it's just a little bit more damage increase, which she already has a lot of, by the way. So, Seth is yet another airstrike character that can be played on the ground. Now, of course, you will actually be playing her in the air quite a lot, because some of her skills actually bring her back into the air. She also has a few skills that when you use them in the air, you go to the ground and then back to the air. So when you do Hell Overflow, you gotta be a little bit careful with which skills you use when you're in the air battle with Tyndalos and Halpas and that kind of stuff. But overall, I think her kit is pretty cool. She also takes a couple of aspects of other characters, like for example, one of her skills works kind of with the Kashana mechanic that Soma has. Her V skill kind of works like Exceed of Violet, where she empowers one auto attack. With Violet, of course, she empowers a few auto attacks, but Seth only empowers the one. And then one of her EX skills kind of functions like Wolfgang, where to activate it, she needs to use it first once to get the buff, and then she can use the skill. Kind of like how Wolfgang works with summoning his, I believe it's like one of his ghosts. So that kind of works like that. But for this video, we're going to talk about all of her skills, do a quick overview, and then talk a little bit about my opinion on the character as well. So, first of all, let's start off with her V skill, because this is one of the most important skills that she has. This will do a few things for you. So first of all, as I said, it kind of gives you that Exceed thing where it empowers one basic attack. So as you can see, if I'm using basic attacks, I just claw a bit. By the way, if you use this in the air while sprinting, you turn into a legit helicopter, which is freaking amazing, which is why my character is called Lollicopter. But when you use the V skill, not only do you turn into a beast, this also does damage, gives iframes, and regens HP, mana, and phase force. Of course, the phase force you can't see right now because I'm not in battle, but when you use your auto attacks straight after, as you can see, they become a little bit stronger. So that's really cool. Other than this, this also empowers some of your other moves when you use them right after. And also for some of your other moves makes them do a bit special things. So let's talk about your first Special Agent skill, Horus something, Horus attack. At the start of the fight, you need to use this once in order to be able to use it again. And the cool thing about this is when you use this after your beastly wild nature release, you actually get 2 extra attacks. So as you can see, when I use the up button, I get an uppercut. When I use the down button, I do this. I get some iframes from that as well. And then I have 2 dashes. Now, the 2 dashes are the normal use of the skill. That's usually what it does. But when you use it after wild nature release, you get that extra uppercut and downwards attack. The downwards attack is the only thing that gives you the iframes, by the way. So as you can see, I didn't use my wild nature's release, so now I only get the 2 dashes. I don't have access to the uppercut or the downward strike. Then the second Special Agent skill. This is pretty simple, just grabs enemies, does damage. Nothing too crazy here. Her third skill, and this is one that changed for the better in a big way, because I was not a big fan of how this skill worked before. You actually have two options. So either you can use it like this, where you just do a bunch of attacks. You are invulnerable for the whole duration of that thing, by the way. One small complaint that I had about her is that she was kind of lacking iframes, but Awakening and Special Agent kind of took care of that. Now, the cool thing with this skill is when you press the down button while you use this, you'll just do all of the damage in one go. Now, of course, this is kind of give and take. Either you use the full duration of the skill to do less DPS because it takes you longer to do the damage, but you get a way longer iframe, or you use the quicker version, thus doing more DPS because it's faster, but losing the iframes. So it's a little bit of a choice that you have to make there. Then, next skill, this one is really good, but like insanely good. It's a very quick attack. When you use this in the air, you will also bounce back into the air, if you want that for a certain ability. But this will also give you a stacking damage buff. So this is incredibly good. It scales over the course of the fight, so you always start doing more and more damage. And then as you can see, when you use it in the air, you bounce kind of back upwards. The reason why that's important for me is because of her next skill. This is her Kashana skill, I guess you could say. So you have to activate this twice, and you have to activate it at the right moment to get the most damage out of it. So you activate it, you have to smash it again. Here I failed the timing, so I only get small spikes. But I'm going to show it now. When you do this in the air, by the way, you can also reposition yourself. So you can actually jump quite the distance. And the trigger timings of when you have to activate it again is a little bit different in the air as well as on the ground. So that's why I personally prefer to use it in the air, as it gives me a easier window to time it. Cool thing about this skill is, 1, it gives you a damage buff, so you always want to be using it. 2, it does good damage. 3, it applies a Thorn's Binding effect on the enemies, which when they have it, they take, I believe it's 30% more damage. Yeah, they take 30% more damage. And not only that, when you use either this skill again, it will trigger the Thorn's Binding and apply it again. And this skill also triggers the Thorn's Binding's explosion kind of thing. That's really strong. This thing will also apply it if the target doesn't already have it. But otherwise it just explodes it. So another good thing about this skill is that it can get reset by your next one. I can't really show this one because I don't have a target, but you just like dash into a target, and when you hit something, you grab them, you do some damage, and then it resets the Q, which is this thing, of course, over here. Then the next one is another skill that has 2 forms. If you use it normally, you dash around all over the place. This gives you iframes, and again, just like with your Wild Nature release, will give you HP, mana, and phase force. Now, the cool thing about this skill is that you can also use it on the spot if you don't like to dash all over the screen. If you hold the downwards button, it will look like this. This you can also use as high as you want. It will still hit all of the things on the floor. So like that big puddle that you could see underneath me. That will also deal damage to all of the enemies, and that kind of follows you around. So really cool skill, really strong skill as well, because it has the iframes, it has the regen, and then of course it also does pretty decent damage. Oh yeah, by the way, this thing is an Awakening move. Before Awakening, it's a point blank grab. With Awakening, you get the dash attached to it, because otherwise I would miss it quite a lot. Then, next one. This is another Awakening move. Before Awakening, it gives damage reduction. With Awakening, it's an iframe. This just deals damage. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And then, of course, the last skill, as I said before, this applies Thorn's Binding, but if it already has Thorn's Binding, then it will blow it up instead. So yeah, pretty strong attack as well, mainly because it works with the Thorn Binding. But other than that, the damage is not super amazing. Then let's talk about her special skills. Now I'm actually going to talk about her FM2 and FM3 first. So FM2, very simple, just does damage. I think it also gives damage reduction. Yes, it does. FM3, yet again, long animation. It gives iframes, so that's really cool. Her FM4 also gives iframes, but it doesn't say that on the skill. So they probably messed it up with the translation somewhere, but it does give iframes. Now the FM1, and this is why I think Seth is a little bit crazy. So first of all, damage decrease, but it does quite good damage. Now it does have a long wind-up time, but we can get around that. So when we use our token skill, which is this thing, this is a dash and grab, but as I can't grab anything, I of course only do the dash. But as you can see, my FM1 got reset. Now when I use it again, it does it instantly. The cool thing is, even though the cooldown of FM1 might be longer than the token skill, you can use your V skill to actually take 10 seconds of the duration of your FM1. So basically, every rotation you can do FM1, token skill, FM1, and then decrease the cooldown of FM1 again with your Wild Nature release. So you can just always do FM1, token skill, FM1 again, and then you can do your Wild Nature release somewhere in between to make sure that the cooldowns align again. Another cool thing is when you use FM4, which looks like this, does some pretty decent damage, you will again reset FM1. So this is why this is probably going to be one of the only characters where I am going to invest a lot of points into keeping my FM1 skilled up, because it does good damage. You can use it 3 times in a row basically, once even without having the long duration of the wind-up, and it does pretty good damage. Now of course when Task Force gets released in the future, Task Force upgrades your FM1 to be a little bit stronger, meaning that she's going to get even more stronger than she already is. So yeah, those are all of her skills. She plays really well. Of course, as I said, the Thorns Binding effect looks like ass. But other than that, I think it looks pretty alright. So if you can get around the clutter that she brings to the screen, she's actually a pretty fun and a pretty strong character to play. Now, the reason why she's so strong is not only because she just triggers Airstrike anywhere, either on the ground or in the air, but also because a lot of her moves force, chase, and back procs. This means that it's pretty easy to tune for her, because she can use all 3. But since she has those force procs, it also means that she'll be doing a lot of damage, because not all characters will always proc ABC. Now, of course, with the Wild Hunter characters, most of them have a lot of ABC procs, but she has it on almost all of her skills. So that makes her really strong, and it's always fun, of course, to do a lot of damage as well. Of course, I do think that she does need her awakening skills, especially of the chain thing that makes her gives her extra iframes, and I think her special agent was a really good addition to her as well, as it does change up her gameplay quite a bit and makes it a lot more fun in my opinion, as it's more interactive between all of her skills and all of that stuff as well. So Seth, TLDR, she's fun, she's incredibly strong, she does a lot of damage. Like, I've been undergeared for all of the content that I do at the moment, because I haven't really invested gear into her, but I've had no issue clearing any of the content whatsoever. Like all of the fights that you can see me doing right now, I'm pretty much undergeared for most of them. Like, I barely have any gear on her. I just have like a plus 12 core and then some plus 11 mods or something like that. And I haven't even finished gearing up all of the purification normal stuff. I haven't even started purification hell yet. So my character, she's really not strongly geared yet, but she does already feel really strong. And then of course, the one big drawback that I have with her is the way that some of her skills clutter the screen. This is not so much a problem on a boss fight, but when you're going into a dungeon, for example, if you hit 10 mobs with that Thorns Binding, your screen is just gonna be a black mess. But yeah, those are kind of like my thoughts and impressions on Seth. She's fun, she's cool, she's strong, but her skills are a little bit displeasing in the way that they look. So with all of that being said, that's pretty much Seth. I hope you learned something new, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.